Good morning. I want to talk this morning a little bit about mystery and certainty. We all want to have a lot of certainty. We like to know everything, and that is never more true than in a time like we're in now. How long will this last? When will there be a vaccine? How safe can I be? All of the things that we would love to have certainty about, and we just can't, and we have to live with the mystery, and that can be hard, and that can be painful. Theologically speaking, sometimes when we seek certainty so much, we get ourselves into trouble. We start telling God what we think God ought to do. We start thinking that we are God instead of living in the mystery that is God. Let me try to explain biblically. Think about that wonderful story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They refused to bow down to Nebuchadnezzar's great golden statue. And when they were brought before Nebuchadnezzar, the king is in a rage. He's furious. They have disobeyed a direct order. They haven't bowed down and paid homage to him. And he says to them and warns them and threatens them, you know I can have you killed. I can have you thrown into a fiery furnace. And their response is not to respond with certainty, but actually to respond with mystery. But the mystery they respond with is a mystery that is connected to certainty. So they say, we believe that our God can save us from your fire, O king, but even if he does not, that doesn't change anything. We will never bow down to a statue or to a man, only to God. So they didn't know if we get thrown into the fiery furnace, will God save us? Will God not save us? They knew God could save them, but they didn't know what was God's plan. How would God respond? And yet, in spite of that mystery, they lived in the certainty that they would be God's servants nevertheless. And this comes at a time in Israel's history when there wasn't belief in an afterlife. Once you died, that was it. And yet they were willing to live with the certainty that even if we die and our existence is over forever, it's worth it to have died serving God. Had they said, well, we know that God will save us from your fire, and God didn't, they wouldn't have had a witness. But instead, they do have a witness. And when they come out of the fire, it's pretty remarkable. They say or Nebuchadnezzar says to them, because you put your bodies on the line, I believe that your God is great. He was more impressed with their response and their certainty of God being in their lives regardless of what might happen than he even was with the miracle that they were saved by the fiery furnace, or saved in the fiery furnace by God. And so during this time, I want us to recognize that we live with a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and that uncertainty is causing a lot of division out in our wider world, in our politics and elsewhere. And yet, rather than seeking for absolute certainty, what we must do is live with the mystery. We're going to do the best we can. We're going to follow the precautions that we can, the best we can, and try not to stay completely locked down or completely fearful. But when we go out, take the precautions we need to take, but also recognize that we're going to trust God. We're going to trust that if I were to get COVID-19, it's going to be okay. I may not survive, but it's going to be okay. My job is to live faithfully. And a lot of what that is also to go back to those three young men who were thrown into the fiery furnace and recognize that I live not for myself, but I live for others. And part of the response that I have to this needs to be living for others. We know that wearing a mask is actually wearing the mask for other people. We need to do that. But we also need to recognize that this is the time for the church to be the church. This is the time for us to show that we care about other people even more than ourselves. We will lay our bodies, our wallets, whatever you want to say, on the ground, put them on the line for God. Let us make sure that we do that this day and all days. Whether God saves us or not, that doesn't matter. What matters is that we will live for our Lord. God is with us. Amen.